A change by the Trump administration is it's having a decades-old ripple effect. The federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains.
Yeah, the segregation clause is one of several identified in a public memo issued by the General Services Admission last month, affecting all civil federal agencies. Legal experts say this change to contradicts contracts to across all the federal government is significant.
All right, we're bringing back in our legal expert, Khalif Rhodes. So let's talk about what is the language here that is in this FAR, the Federal Acquisitions Regulation, that these agencies use when they're writing contracts for their federal contractors. Why is this so symbolic?
Well, let's go back a couple steps if we can. In another lifetime, I worked as a government contracting solicitation company, or I should say bidding company. Did that for a number of years, bid on a lot of things, from toilet paper to defense contracts. And what I can tell you as far as control, they are what you look for when you're looking at participating in a bid. The very first thing you do is you flip to the FAR and see, well, hey, do I meet these requirements? These FARs are extremely important. If you fail to meet one of these, you're not even going to get an opportunity to be considered, let alone win a bid. And so FARs are extremely important. These aren't just recommendations or little sticky notes that they put there. They control the bidding and contracting process. And so this language here, I've read the memorandum that was sent out by the director. And the very first thing says ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunities. So even within that language, there's a lot of dog whistle within here. But if you look at some of the things that they removed, talking about removing the equal opportunity, I mean, I can agree that a number of the things that are listed in these FARs are duplicative. And that's what he mentions in here, that it's duplicative. Why? Because it's protected by the Civil Rights Act 1964. So because you have that in there, yes, the protections, that safeguard, that safety net, even if someone didn't have these FARs, it would still be that protection there. But the duplicative portion, these FARs will go deeper than that. This is saying I can't discriminate. This is in the Civil Rights Act, saying I can't discriminate on you based on race, on gender, on these protected classes. But this is telling you exactly how you cannot discriminate against those people. It's going a step further than that. It's saying, okay, if the Civil Rights Act of 64 is the baseline, this is giving a heightened level of protection to ensure that these contractors know exactly what discrimination looks like and how you cannot and should not discriminate against these certain folks. So while I agree it's duplicative in its base, it adds that extra layer of protection to ensure that discrimination would not continue to happen, specifically in these places where government contracting had a rampant run of discrimination, or you wouldn't have had them there.
So you kind of played both sides right there, saying that there are protections that are still in place even when you've removed this here. But what people are talking about is a precedent that this could set and what could come next. That's what people are worried about.
Well, I think the president has already tipped his hand to exactly what's the attempt to do. I mean, the attack on anything that's DEI, the erasure and removal of any of that that's touching any government infrastructure. I mean, you had the thing with Jackie Robinson that was taken down recently. You had anywhere where there's a mention of the diversity, equity, or inclusion, that's being all scrubbed from any government facilities. The government, or I should say the president and his administration, is attempting to even get in the private sector, give increases in bonuses in those places for companies that remove that from their practices. And so I think the next step is to do this push for any type of discrimination, or I should say anti-discrimination efforts, is to remove it. And this is just one step, and this is not something new. He talked about it when he campaigned. He talked about it on his first day in inauguration, and every executive order that he's done so far has been in efforts of furthering that. And so what's next is the continuation of removing anything that's connected to this diversity, equity, and inclusion piece.
How long before we see the trickle-down effect, even to like the state level?
I think this probably won't touch on the state level as far. I mean, a lot of these things on the state levels will mirror what the federal government does, and those same protections from the Civil Rights Act would still be there even on the state level. But in the contracting space, this is a major move specifically because I'll say this quickly. Normally, a rulemaking process like this, you'd have a 60-day or a 30-day notice where I'd have an opportunity to speak. The public will give comment. None of that happened in this situation. It was like, we're making this change today because we can, and we're doing it.
And should note that the Jackie Robinson site was put back up after initially being taken down, but a series of pages on the Department of Defense website have been taken down and have not since been restored. Again, our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, joining us for that.